All right. Hey guys, it's your buddy Jake Dominguez back with another movie review. Again, awful quality. Again, I'm recording this on my tablet. How does that look? That'll have to do. So sorry about that, guys, but don't worry. I got an awesome movie to review today. I'm very excited to talk about this film. It got nominated for a bunch of Oscars and was has a lot of buzz about it, so I'm excited to talk about it today. Today I'm going to review Lion, telling the true story of a young boy named Saru. I really tried. I hope that's correct. And it tells the true story about how, as a boy, he was separated from his brother on a train, which he slept on accidentally, basically, in India, and how he traveled like miles and miles and miles and miles accidentally on this train while he was asleep, miles and miles from where he lived. And it tells the story of how he basically had to survive on his own, lost, completely separated from his family, and eventually it shows how he was adopted by a family in Australia. And he's brought over, he's not in the slums anymore, he's not starving anymore, but he still really misses his family. And it shows how, as a young man, he suddenly really gets that urge to go back to India and find his family. It's a near impossible task, and it shows the story. Well, I guess I won't spoil it for you because you haven't seen the movie, but let's just say it's a miracle what happens. I was pretty interested in seeing this film just based on that story alone. Like, it's an incredible true story. Talk about just an example of the adage, truth is stranger than fiction, right? Like, it's an incredible story. And one reason I was really excited to see this film was because of the actor who plays older Saru, Dev Patel. Dev Patel is a pretty fantastic actor who hasn't always gotten the kudos I think he deserved. When I first saw Slumdog Millionaire, like years and years ago when that came out, that movie had a huge impact on me when I first saw it. It still does. I still love that film. I was really blown away by Dev Patel in that film. I thought he nailed it. I thought he was great. You cared about him. He was a great hero in that role, but he wasn't the usual idea of a hero. He's just a guy who really loves that girl is trying to get. That's another review, I guess. I'll review Slumdog Millionaire another time. But he's great in that movie. But he really caught my attention in a film. I think it was directed by John Madden or something like that. Is that his name? The Grand Exotic Marigold Hotel. Remember that movie that came out a long time ago? It had a sequel. It was one of those films that was a lot better than you'd expected it to be. And I was really impressed by Dev Patel's performance in that film. I thought he kind of stole the show. He was likable, he was funny, and he always does a great job. Even in The Last Airbender, it's a pretty awful movie, but Dev Patel is one of the few things, I'm not going to say saving graces of the film, but it's kind of like, even when you watch The Last Airbender, you're like, okay, Dev Patel is a good actor who's just dealing with terrible dialogue and not so good direction here, but he's trying. He's trying, at least for me anyway. He's a pretty good actor, and in this role, in this movie, it's probably the best performance he has ever done. He's great. He has a lot of really powerful scenes in this film, and you're always rooting for him to find his way back to his family. He's fantastic in this film. He got nominated for an Academy Award, and he deserved it. He gave an absolutely outstanding performance. Nicole Kidman is also in this film. She plays his adopted mother in the film, and she also does really great. The whole cast is really wonderful, but there's one role that really just stole the movie for me and is one of the biggest surprises of it. It's the actor who plays young Saru, the boy who got taken away from his home. Not taken away, I guess he got lost, but you know what I mean. And his name is Saru. No. Let me see. That's the character he plays. Sunny Pawar. Sunny Pawar. I'm sorry. I really tried. Please don't be offended on the 1 billionth of a chance you're watching this video, Mr. Actor, because you are amazing in this movie. This little kid is absolutely fantastic in this film. Pretty much the first hour maybe it's just about this boy. It's about him in India and about him eventually going to Australia. He's fantastic. It's one of the best child performances I've seen in a long time. He really steals it. he's great. I don't know what else to say about it. He's funny. He's a legitimately good actor. He does a great job in this movie. As great as Dev Patel is, once it eventually gets to his side of the story, it almost, I would have loved to have watched an entire movie just about that kid. He did a great job. I was so impressed with that. And that leads me, I guess, to maybe a very strange thing in this movie that some people may find to be like a major flaw. It almost feels like two different films. It shows the story about Saru as a boy, how he gets lost, how he tries to survive, and eventually Lion turns into like this other film, which is about Saru played by Dev Patel and how he tried to get home, how he taught all these problems with his friends and his family. And to some people they may see that as like a flaw of some kind. I personally don't. If you can make a film feel episodic or feel like a different chapter, if you will, and do it well, I love it when you do that. I don't even know if that makes sense, but I think about the films of Stanley Kubrick. 2001: A Space Odyssey being like a great example. That whole film is literally a bunch of like sections that just combine into one movie. Stanley Kubrick did that a lot. Like The Shining is another example. Like, you know, that film was literally in sections, just like 2001, where it just goes through the days of the week and all that. Full Metal Jacket is probably the best example of all, though, where the first half of the film is just this boot camp, and the second half is the Vietnam War. It's almost two different plots, if you will. Some people may find that a distraction or a flaw, but in my opinion, they handled it pretty well. What made this movie falter just a little bit for me, though, is probably that second half. And it's a little bit in the first half as well, but this is an extraordinary story. It happened. It is true. Yeah, they use some Hollywood storytelling to make it all fit into a 2-hour film, but it is a true story. And when I look back on the film, it does almost seem like they had to take this true story and make it work in a 2-hour frame. Let me explain that better. I didn't really explain that well. Basically, it almost feels like this film is stretched a little bit at times, especially when we get to the second half, where we learn about his girlfriend, played by Rooney Mara, who does a great job in this movie. She always does a great job. And she has great chemistry with Dev Patel. And it's not like the scenes are bad or the relationship is bad, but there's a few scenes that almost feel like they're there just to make it a movie. You know what I mean? Like, they could have easily just had it the boy and then just showed the second half of the film of Dev Patel. And they could have just cut that down to basically the ending or the outcome of the film. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas here, but it does feel like kind of stretched. You almost could feel the filmmakers just like, oh boy, how do we make this a movie? You know? Because basically, we just see we see Saru as an adult trying to figure out how to get home, and there's all these other things he has to do. Like, it does feel a little stretched at times, which they handled it well. They did a pretty good job. The script of this film is good and it's very well made. But that's probably my biggest flaw with the film. But overall, it's hard not to watch this movie and not be moved by it. You would have to have a really stone cold heart not to be moved by this incredibly inspiring story. And Garth Davis, if I'm saying that right, I think that's the director's name. He does an excellent job. It's a very well-directed movie. The cinematography is great. I absolutely love the musical score. I'm blanking on who the two composers are, but they do a great job. Overall, as a debut feature from Garth Davis, it's a pretty great debut. I was really moved by Lion. I thought it was very well made. Has some great performances, and I'm going to give it a B+. Solid B+, right out of the gate. It's a really good movie, and I'd recommend checking it out. I will say this one more thing. Like I said, this film was nominated for a bunch of Oscars. It deserves it. It's a good movie. I have read some reviews, and a big defining criticism, if you will, is that the film is very Oscar baity. It's Oscar bait, that's why it's made, blah, blah, blah. And I guess it is, you know, like, I'm not going to argue against that. It is made by the Weinstein Company, after all, and that's their big thing. But as Oscar bait goes, in the end of the day, it's a good movie, and that's all that matters to me. And that's all I got to say on that for now. Guys, you are awesome. Sorry I haven't been uploading as much. I've had some things come up, just normal life that just gets in the way of doing important things like making YouTube videos, you know? So thank you so much for subscribing to me. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a like. Oh gosh, give it a like. There you go. I know how to speak English. And go ahead and comment below on what other movies you'd like to see me review. You guys are the best, and never forget, I'm your friend. I'm always going to be there for you. Thank you for being mine. You guys are awesome again. I can't say that enough, and I'll see you next time.